else down there. You can see everything outside. Also, there's a What a Woman table. Basically, on that table, you put down who you feel is your inspiration as a woman. Also, there'll be a feedback table that will be available in the break and at the end, so you can give your feedback, what you think of the event, what could be better, you know, what took your fancy. So, also, just to get everybody involved, because I don't want to just bleat on at people all night, who's heard Beyonce's Lemonade album? I heard a woo. Feeling it, are we? Anybody else? Like it? Didn't feel it? All right? Bit crap? Anyone? All right, so tonight, what we're going to do, every time I say sorry, I want the crowd to say, I ain't sorry. Okay, that's guys as well. So you just want to drum up a bit of energy, like positive energy. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So let's give a trial run. Sorry.
I ain't sorry.
All right. One more time. Sorry.
I ain't sorry.
There we go. So throughout the night, I'm going to just drop that in whenever I feel fit. Okay? So you've got to be on your toes. Okay. Right. Enough of me babbling. Let's get on to our 4 fantastic panellists tonight. First up, we have Dr. Clare Osigwe. Pronunciation? On point. All right. She's going to tell you about herself in a little while. We also have Delia-Rene Donaldson. Just give a little wave. We also have Ade Hassan. And all the way from the US of A, we have Helen Ashbury. That's our 4 panellists for tonight. So we're going to move on to the first person. You're going to talk a little bit about yourself and what you do and all that fancy stuff. Our first panellist is Dr. Clare. Please put your hands together.
Hi, can everyone hear me at the back? Yeah. Hi, my name's Dr. Clare Osigwe. I'm the founder of a brand called Prime Skincare. It's the world's first allergy-friendly certified vegan beauty company. And I started that company almost 5 years ago, December 2011, from my kitchen stove in Islington, King's Cross, in my studio flat. It's been an incredible journey, and it's been incredible for so many reasons, because I'm a woman of colour, and I started the journey really when I was at university. I discovered that I had all these allergies, and the umbrella term is called Candida albicans, and it's basically an intolerance to wheat, dairy, gluten and yeast. And it made me really ill, and it made my skin look really ill as well, in the sense of I had eczema and acne, and I was taking quite a lot of antibiotics, and I was being laughed out of my GP surgery and told it was all in my head, or that, you know, if I continued on with the antibiotics, it would slowly subside, and it didn't. And I decided to take my own health and my own sort of image into my own hands. And so I started mixing and blending these products in my kitchen whilst I was teaching drama and English during the day, so I was mixing and blending at night. And it was really just sort of experimental. I had worked for 6 years at the Body Shop, and it was during the time when Anita was still with us. And so all of my sort of early formulations were DIY, sort of do-it-yourself products that Anita had taught us, and I would put my own mix and blend on it and change the essential oils or the bases. And then I took it to market. I took it to Spitalfields Market, 2009, and was just sort of testing the market to see if people enjoyed it. And people couldn't believe how pure it was, that sometimes if I had European customers who were non-English, they would literally pick up, you know, the balms and like try and eat them or put their fingers in them, because they were just so excited by the fact that they could read all the ingredients and understand exactly what was in the product. So it's before the times where now the word vegan is like, oh yeah, those people that eat leaves. You know, it's now become quite a trend to be free from and have a clean diet and be vegan. But 5 years ago, it was still quite a taboo, so it was groundbreaking. I went away, perfected the formulations, became an allergy practitioner, so I did a diploma so I could test and treat people who have allergies, and I launched the brand December the 1st, 2011. And within 40 days, we were award nominated because a journalist who had psoriasis tried the products and it cleared her psoriasis. And since then, we've won 16 awards. Thank you. Yeah, 16 awards, it's almost like one award every 4 months. And we've been featured in over 100 magazines and 5,000 blogs. And we've sampled nearly 250,000 women through being in Glossy Box 3 times and Birchbox UK and Spain. And I've really just, for me, the 5 years has really been like self-discovery, because I've been sort of educating and being educated by my clients, you know, because health and well-being and beauty is so ever-changing. And once we think we've learned something, we're like, oh my God, there's a new product or a new ingredient on the horizon. How can I work that into my formulas, or how can I always predict what's coming next? I think for me, when I started, I was 26, 31 now, and I think it was quite confronting for other beauty brands and some of the beauty buyers to see this young, tenacious black girl sort of doing this brand. Like, you know, I was constantly compared to bigger companies and still am, like Clinique. And they were like, who is this girl that's claiming that she's got the world's first? And I was like, yeah, well, we did tests with Allergy UK, and we're the only brand that cared to do it, because I guess I care because I'm an allergy sufferer. And no other brand cares because no one that's working there or isn't, you know, is the founder of the business cares. So I think you have to really put yourself, sorry, that's so naughty. Sorry. You have to put yourself, it's just business, it's always on, in your brand, and you have to be true to yourself, and you have to celebrate your so-called flaws. And if you can use them productively to create something that's really beautiful, it's a gift to the world. And don't be afraid to be the world's first. We are magical, and we are producers as women and as black women as well. We are usually the first people to do a lot of things in this world. We were the first ones here. So celebrate your greatness. And yeah, if you've got any questions for me, I'd love to hear them. I'm getting that 1 minute finger. Thank you for listening.
Time is definitely a factor. Going to move on to Delia-Rene Donaldson. I'm going to refrain from doing the name away. I'm going to let you tell her all about herself. Here you go.
Hi guys. Okay. So, August 2008, I had just finished university. I did criminology and psychology in Roehampton, hoping to be a probation officer. And I broke up with my boyfriend at the time. And I was devastated. I know, right? So I was devastated, and through a lot of wine, I decided to start writing these little notes on Facebook. So I was writing about the situation, what I was going through, and I found it was very therapeutic. So going back as a young girl, I always loved to read, and I always liked to write, but it never resonated in me to become a writer. I was like, no, because especially I have a St. Lucia mom, she was like, you like to sing and dance, you better sing and dance your books. So I didn't go into the whole writing avenue. I thought, okay, I'm gonna get my degree, get my job, and stuff like that. Then recession hit, so I couldn't become a probation officer. So I started writing, and my friend was like, you do this every week, give it a name. So I was like, okay, and at that time I was obsessed with Sex and the City. So, and I have a slight anger problem, so I called it Vex and the City. So I named it Vex and the City, I started it on Facebook, and every week I would just upload something about myself, about growing up in London, growing up as a black girl, and it kind of stemmed from there. So at first, when I had 100 people, I was like, there's 100 people that want to read what I have to say, but okay. So it was a big thing for me. I think the most pivotal time for me was when I had 1,000 followers, and I was like, oh my God, there's 1,000 people that actually go onto Facebook and hear what I have to say. Like, I have cheek to be talking about relationships when I ain't got no man, but I'm gonna do it anyway. So that's why Vex and the City kind of came out of that. Now, I came out before the whole blogging notion came to what it is today. I didn't really call myself a blogger for a long time. So I had Vex and the City for about 2-3 years, and by that time it was really gaining in momentum and stuff like that. At that time, that's when I was asked to be in a play, and the girl writing it was like, you're exactly like this character I have. and she was kind of loud in your face, joker sort of thing. So I did that, and that's where I really fell in love with theatre. So I did the play, we did 2 plays, we did it around London. And then from there, I would kind of got the bug, and I was like, I want to write stories, because at that point I was so sick of seeing the narrative of a black girl being a drug dealer, a baby mother, a crack whore, or whatever it was. And I was like, that's not my reality. Even though I grew up in Ladbroke Grove and I know the Magnum, my mum said you can't be with a Magnum. So I knew the people of the street, but I wasn't in the streets, if that makes sense. So I wrote a story about a black girl looking for love, and we called it Venus versus Mars. So we did that because during this time I've been working in a school. We filmed it over the 6-week holiday, and I absolutely hate filming. It is long. To film a conversation between 2 people takes at least half an hour. So we filmed Venus versus Mars. We put it out as a web series without kind of having any ideas for it. And when Venus versus Mars season 1 came out, I think we had over 1 million people look at it, and we had a lot of subscribers and a lot of momentum. From that, we did season 2. And during season 2 was when we got nominated for the Screen Nation Awards, and we went to Google, and that was a lot of fun, and it was free wine. So I got very turned up, and we ended up winning, I think it was Best Actress, which was Letitia, and Best Online Series, because we were against Brothers with No Game at that point. That was our big competition. So that went through, and then from that we got the opportunity from Sky Living, who decided they wanted to take it onto Sky Living. And at that time, it was the first ever web series that had been made into a TV series, but with an all-black cast, because they were trying to make us change it. Thank you. And we were like, we're not changing nothing. We're having black people everywhere. Like, it was a black people movement, and they were like, okay, so they're not changing on that. And then after Venus versus Mars came out, I realised I still had a passion for theatre, but I hadn't been blogging, and that was because of personal reasons. I stopped blogging, and that's when the whole blogging thing became a big thing. You had like Shirley and Nine, you've got Gracie Francesca, you've got Patricia Bright sort of come out. And so I said, I need to relearn everything about blogging again. So I joined a blog school last year, November. It was 6 weeks of like intense one-to-one workshops, learning everything again, because blogging has changed so much now, and it's a really profitable business where you can make money. So I did that, and I said, okay, I'm going to bring up Bits and City again. I rebranded it underneath my name, and then I put myself up for a blog award, and I was like, I ain't going to get that, but I actually made the finals. So I was the only black British girl in the UK blog award, so I got to the final, which was good. And I put out my play in August. I put out a play called Experiences, which is about my exes, and some of their names I changed, some of them I didn't. So some of my exes came, it was basically about 4 black girls living in London who were really close friends, and the kind of experiences they go through with their partners or not. So that came out in the Lost Theatre, and I did 2 sold-out dates. I did one in August, one in September. And yeah, that's basically my journey so far. Yeah.
So I'm getting a bit carried away with that. I'm going to slow down. Okay, Ade Hassan.
So, first of all, I'll just start with a question. How many of you can walk into Boots or Marks and Spencer or any shop and pick up something that's nude and it would be your colour? Right. So... That's about right. So 2 years ago, I launched a company called Nubian Skin. And the concept behind Nubian Skin is very simple. It's skin tone, lingerie, and hosiery for women of colour. Now, my background isn't in fashion, so I graduated with a degree in economics and English, and then studied finance and development, and went into a very corporate career. So I started off in investment banking, and then moved to consulting. And in 2011, I remember this was the spring, I was working on a project which I hated, and I'd always loved fashion, and I'd always wanted to go into fashion. And all of a sudden, I remember sitting there, and it was like a light bulb went off in my head. Because after years of never being able to find nude that was my nude, I figured I might as well do it myself since it wasn't out there. So I sent off a text to one of my friends which said, I figured out what I want to do when I grow up. Now, that was in 2011, and I knew that for me it was very important that the company was black-owned, and it was owned by me. And so I knew I was going to need money. And so I had to change jobs because I needed a job which paid me a lot more so I could save to start Nubian Skin. And as you do when you get a new job which pays well, start buying nice things. So lots of shoes, lots of holidays. And in the summer of 2012, I was in New York with a really, really good friend. And I told her about the idea. And, you know, she was like, that sounds great. I came back to London, and, you know, you just sort of get carried away with work. The year after that, in May, I got a belated birthday present, and across the birthday card rather, and across the front it was a card, and it said, "It's time to start living the life you've always imagined." And on the inside was a really lovely message from this friend, and she just said, "One day I hope to see you on the cover of Forbes. I love your idea. I really want you to do this." And the next day, I registered the company and registered the trademarks. And from then on, it was like I was possessed, in a good way. But I slept with a notebook beside my bedside table because I would wake up at like 4 a.m. and have all these ideas where I was like, okay, this is how I want the photo shoot to look. These are the colors I need. And it was a long process because I thought I would be able to launch 3 months after that. In reality, I launched about 18 months after because the colors didn't exist. You can't walk into a shop and go, right, give me all your brown nudes, because they weren't there. And so it was going to makeup counters that had a good offering for women of colour, so companies like Fashion Fair, Black Up, MAC, and literally going with Pantone swatches and trying to match to skin tones. And then I sent it all off to a factory, they came back and they were wrong. So it was a huge process of going back and forth, saying add more red, add more yellow, this needs to be deeper, this needs to be richer. And a year after it came down to me boiling tights on my cooker in pots of tea and coffee, just trying to get those colours right, but I got them in the end. So August 2014, I was still working, by the way, at this time, I did a photo shoot because I had my product, and I, at that time, wasn't very big on social media. We had an Instagram handle, but we had 50 followers, mostly my friends, and 10 followers on Twitter. And I put a picture, it was an image of 4 girls in the 4 different skin tones on Instagram, and I went away on holiday. And my phone kept buzzing about halfway through, and I had 100 followers on Instagram. And this reminds me of what you said. I was ecstatic. I didn't know anything about like how social media worked then, but I was like, 100 people care about what I'm going to do. By the end of the week, we had 1,000. In 4 weeks, we had 20,000. And then things started getting like really crazy because we got picked up by BuzzFeed because we were trending. So BuzzFeed did an article, the Mail Online did an article, the Independent did an article, Kerry Washington tweeted an article about us, and things just sort of exploded. So company to do that, and it's surprising to me that that's the case. But I think we've just had so much support. I think what Claire was saying about the Black community, the reason that we're here is because of Black women specifically carrying our brand. They were the ones who retweeted, who blogged, who Instagrammed about our brand. We had bloggers who literally probably get paid thousands to talk about brands, who literally just wrote about us because they were like, you know what, this is by a Black woman and it's something that doesn't exist. And so to me, that's just the power of what a community can do when they come together. And that was here in the UK, and it was in the US, everywhere. And so I am so, so grateful for that, just because it shows the power of a community and support when people do actually come together.
Okay, so our final panellist, please put your hands together for, all the way from the States, Helen Ashbury.
Hello, everyone. As she mentioned, I'm attorney Helen Ashbury. I'm from Houston, Texas, in the United States. And first and foremost, I'd like to thank you all for coming here. And I'd also like to give thanks to God, because that's where my whole motivation came. I don't want to get emotional, but 10 years ago, I lost my father. And him and I planned my whole life. I thought at that time was my whole life. You're going to go to college, you're going to be a lawyer, and then you're going to be rich and famous. And I was like, okay, great, I can do that. And so I was a second year in college, and I lost him, and so he went into a coma for 13 months, and I had to put school aside. And at that point, I was going through an identity crisis, like, what do I do? How do I find my purpose? So I was always seeking my purpose and fulfilling what my dad, the plan that my dad and I came up with. And so at that time, I was like, okay, let me finish school, let me grieve through the process, and let me go on to law school. And at that time, I was working full-time for a bank in a very high prestigious position, but I felt very complacent. I wasn't getting higher and higher in the company, so I said, you know what, I'm going to apply to law school and go. And at that point, I thought I was going to be a banking attorney, because I was like, okay, they make a lot of money, and I wanted to do that. That's what he said, go to law school, make a lot of money. And so I applied, got into several law schools, and the first day of orientation, I was nervous, because now I don't have a nice salary coming in every 2 weeks, and now it's like, well, what do I do? How do I find my purpose? Well, I sat in a room just like this, and this man came to the stage. His name is Attorney Ricky Anderson, and he represents people like Monique, Steve Harvey, Ty Tribbett, Yolanda Adams, and many, many others. And he just started talking about entertainment law. And I didn't even know there was anything such as entertainment law. I was like, wow, that sounds really cool. I want to do it. And I think you can make a lot of money. And so I was like, I have to do it. And so I literally stalked him. Like, he taught one day out of the week every single week. And even though I wasn't enrolled in his class, I would just stay there from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock and then talk to him for an hour or 2 hours or as long as he would let me, because I wanted to get as much knowledge from him as possible, because now I'm like, wow, this is something that I can do. I'm still practicing law, but now it's an area where I can be passionate about it, wake up and enjoy my clients. I listen to their music, I watch their movies and things like that. And so I would consistently bug him and ask him, well, how can I do what you're doing? And he would tell me, okay, well, you should join Grammy U, which is the collegiate division of the Grammys. And I did. And so at first, I'm joining, and they have me volunteering and getting coffee for this person and that person. And at that point, I told them, I will do anything you need me to do as far as, volunteering, setting up things, just let me know. And the more I became involved, the more responsibilities they gave me. And at my law school, our motto was protect it, improve it, and pass it on. And so I wanted to turn our school into a Grammy school, and it's something that I did. So I pretty much created a fundraiser. We raised over $40,000, sent 12 students to the Grammys through my time in law school, and then it was known as, a Grammy Law School. And so at that point, I'm getting recognition everywhere. They're sending me to not only the Texas State Capitol, but the United States Capitol to lobby on behalf of music creators and things like that. I ended up winning 7 scholarships in law school for entertainment law. My last year of law school, I won a national award for being the only law student inducted in the sports and entertainment law section, which was super huge. And I'm like, whoa, okay, just little old me. And so at that point, I just felt that I was passionate about it, not only to, be rich and rubbing elbows with the rich and famous, but to also help other people of color. I got inspired when I went to the Grammys. I went twice, and I'm sitting there, and I'm there next to Beyonce, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she doesn't realize I am her best friend in my head. Oh my gosh, she doesn't know that I need to be handling her contracts. And so, Beyonce started off in Houston, Texas, where I live. And so I just, at that moment, I said, I want to represent not only the big names, the Beyoncés and the Jay-Z's, but I want to help you grow your career so you can become that Beyonce and Jay-Z. And so I ended up graduating last May, took the bar exam in July, and last year on my birthday, I found out that I passed the bar in November. And so I opened up my law firm, and at that point, because I've already branded myself, a school contacted me and said, hey, would you like to become a professor, teach media law and ethics, media and career surveys? I said, absolutely, but I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm going in there, I learned, I just took the best things that I liked from my professors, because I just finished school, and I just went in and just talked about my passion and just pretty much promoted entrepreneurship in the entertainment industry. And so, the challenges that I've seen as a Black woman is, well, one, I felt like I didn't see any challenges, because going back, God was always there for me. He helped me find my purpose, I guess, through after losing my father. Now I have, you know, the other father, and I guess he was always there. But the only thing that I saw that was interesting, not necessarily a challenge, was again, I'm already branding myself, meeting everyone, the who's who of Houston and just all over. And I asked, you know, this one particular up and coming rapper, I said, hey, you know, I'm finishing school. Well, at this point I was already out. I said, hey, I just graduated. You know, you've seen me a while. If you have any business needs in the music industry, let me know. And he blatantly said to my face, I would never come to you, because I would rather go to a Jew, a white Caucasian Jew. And so at that point I was offended, but then I was like, that's okay, because he's gonna mess up your contract anyway, right? No, because at that point not everything is for you. When you go to them, I'm sure that he'd competently handle, you know, the contract, but at the end of the day, I look like you. And if you understand from the day you were born, it's always your black mother that's the strongest one to be there to support you. And me as a black woman, while I don't have any children, you're my brother. So it's my job to not only help you get your 15 minutes of fame, but help you sustain it to your 16th minute of fame. And sustain that wealth, sustain that fame. And so that's why I feel like that's my purpose. Yes, I feel like I practice happy law, but I don't want to get you there. I want to keep you there.